Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. I thought we would have a look at the mechanics section of the suggestions passed to the developers of good old October 2024. Yep, they've released these suggestions and it's time to go through the first part. Of course, over the next few weeks we'll have a look at the aviation, we'll have a look at the ground, we'll have a look at the naval stuff too. But let's start off with the mechanics section. As always, if you enjoy the content, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Let's get started. The first suggestion is for a decal for the Chinese dragon character. This was an insignia which was used on a bunch of Chinese vehicles in the 1930s. Basically, the Vickers light amphibious tanks actually had the dragon insignia painted on them and saw combat in the Battle of Shanghai in 1937, where unfortunately they were all destroyed. The next suggestion is about increasing the in-game levels for the profiling game. Now, I've personally talked about a prestige system, which I thought would be kind of interesting, but this player wants access to a system where they just increase the amounts of levels to 1,000, so therefore there's plenty of levels to grind through for a long time, so you can get rewards along the way, and then also, of course, with progression, the amount of XP would increase over time and improve as you go along. So right now, in terms of the way that the kind of the progression works, you have the only the stars are higher objective, and that's pretty much it. When you reach level 5, 15, 30, 50, 75, 100, and then imagine if after that, every 25 levels or 50 levels, you got some SL, and then also got a battle trophy, whether it was like a camouflage or whether it was something like a booster. I think that would be quite fun. Also, add specific landmarks such as 250, 500, 1,000 as well. You get yourself a unique title and also decal, and then maybe a few premium days, just to say well done at the end of the day. Of course, the good old rewards could change, things could move around the place, but the idea is just to extend the level cap, since so many people have hit it for such a long time. Then we have information on when did a player last log in. Have you ever accepted a friend request from somebody in a match, and months later you forgot who they are and want to do a cleanup of your friends list and don't know if you are potentially removing someone that was active and could potentially be your teammate again? I therefore suggest for something to display when you check on their profile to indicate how long it was since they last signed on to the game. It doesn't have to be a specific down to the date and the hour, but it could be less than a day ago, a week ago, etc. Before ending on haven't logged in a while, or something to indicate they haven't been inactive for some time. This allows you to more accurately judge the person's activity level in the game more than simply online or offline, or the dreaded and ever mysterious unknown. For those that don't want to give info to people about their activity status, you could easily just add an option to opt out of this. Then we have the idea of changing the fuel slider, basically from 5 to 100% fuel slider instead of 30% minimum requirement. Right now, when it comes to minimal fuel operational time, you need at least 30%. So I'm just going to read through the suggestion so you get the idea. I know it's for the balancing purpose, but I think the minimum fuel operational time is excessive for specific aircraft. Either the fuel amount presets could be time in the air based, or the fuel slider, recently added, would be able to go below 30% of the maximum fuel load. I think most twin fighters suffer from the excess fuel weight. It's the same story for long-range fighters. I want to have the fuel in the amount I just need for the sortie, for attackers, bombers, twin fighters with the long-range operational range. Twin fighters in this game are not favored by many for their characteristics. They usually get a better payload for bombing and ground attacks, but I think they're still quite heavy to contest other single-engine fighters. If I could fly them with maybe 200 kg less, I'd be able to fight better. This is just my desire to have fun in the game, but it won't hurt the game. Bombers will get a better climb rate. Usually the weight doesn't affect the maximum speed that much, as long as the drag stays consistent. I get the point that bombers need fuel in the tanks to make them easier to get caught on the fire. It adds more immersion. I understand it. If it's the case, I accept the adjustment. The phenomenon happens for many planes, so it could be said for any types of planes, as most aircraft store fuel secondary to the main tank located in the fuselage, whether wings being flammable or not is very important in the gameplay. B-25 as an example, at 30%, I'm assuming the plane is carrying around 790 kgs of fuel. It's accountable for 45 minutes worth of flight time. I only need around 1/3 of it. If I use 40% of it, I only carry like 316 kgs of fuel. So basically, it doesn't matter for bombers, because the player is likely carrying the maximum bomb load, in which adds 1600 kg to the weight. The Beaufighter Mark 6C is an example to be specific. It has the minimum fuel of 55 minutes worthy. The weight added by the fuel is 530 kgs, meaning it's possible to reduce the weight by 350 kgs, because the aircraft's empty weight is around 7100 kilos. It has the wind loading of around 150 kg M2 at the lowest, but if you add 530 kg, it's a 163 kg M2. It's a whopping 13 kg M2 increase, and the difference is very noticeable in the game. If I could select the 180 kg fuel weight option, at 80 minutes worth of fuel, the wing loading would be around 155 kg M2. You might be thinking, why would someone care about the wing loading of a heavy fighter? Usually heavy fighters pack quite a punch, but that's not going to change the fact that heavy fighters aren't good for boom and zoom either. Its playstyle is heavily centered around hit and run, but heavy fighters aren't really suited for a vertical maneuver. They have thick wings and large control surfaces, resulting in a sluggish control at higher speeds. Hitting someone and escape is harder, thus requiring the players to take the enemy in just one run. Twin fighters, in overall, is less forgiving of missing a shot, meaning it's very important to have the extra bit of the maneuverability. It's also noted that some twin fighters are surprisingly maneuverable, like the Ki-45s. The Ki-45's minimum fuel is at 48 minutes. If it could carry 16 minutes of fuel, it could save around 200 kilos. The Ki-45T has an option to carry 250 bombs, so dropping one of those bombs would make a similar performance difference between the weight through the factors that are involved. Even for a single-engine aircraft, the B-7A2 has a minimum fuel setting of 1 hour and 28 minutes. At 480 kg's fuel, I just searched online for the info, and all the weight listed here are estimates. I don't need that much fuel. Can I have like 1/5 of the fuel, so that the fuel mass is at 96 kgs? Again, that saves 384 kgs of weight. The B-7A2's empty weight is 3,800 kgs, meaning it's very significant in a comparison. And then we have a profile suggestion for Sabiha Gökçen, who was the world's first female fighter pilot. She was a pioneering figure in aviation history and was the first female combat pilot in the world, as well as the first Turkish female aviator. Born in 1913 in the Ottoman Empire, she was adopted by Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, the founder of the Republic of Turkey, and became one of the first female students at the Turkish Aviation Institute. Gökçen achieved numerous milestones in her aviation career, including participating in military operations and becoming a symbol of women's empowerment in Turkey. She passed away in 2001, leaving behind a legacy of bravery, determination, and also breaking gender barriers in aviation. Sabiha Gökçen primarily participated in the Turkish War of Independence in 1919 to 23, where she served as a combat pilot. This war was a significant conflict fought by the Turkish national movement under the leadership of Mustafa Kemal Atatürk against various occupying powers and local militias in Anatolia and eastern Thrace following the collapse of the Ottoman Empire after the First World War. Gökçen's service as a combat pilot during this war marked a historic milestone as she became the world's first female combat pilot. Her contributions to the Turkish national movement and her bravery in combat missions played a role in the success of the independence struggle and the establishment of the Republic of Turkey in 1923. She is recognized as the first female combat pilot by the Guinness Book of World Records. She was also selected as the only female pilot for the poster of the 20 greatest aviators in history published by the United States Air Force in 1996, and that year she was also honored at the Air Command and Staff College's Gathering of Eagles at Maxwell Air Force Base. The program encourages the study of aviation history by emphasizing the contributions by aviation pioneers. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.